Thank you so much for the apt introduction. I have nothing more to add to it. Uh, to everybody, I will just be telling you uh, regarding the work that I have done as uh, ISO lead. So which is quite interesting, and I hope to all the cybersecurity aspirants here, I think that will be a big motivation for that as well. So let me start with the topic that we are here to enjoy and learn something from it, I guess. And thank you all for joining this session and coming back to listen to me. That is a big thing for me, I guess. So yeah. So today we are here to learn what it is when we talk about identity theft and phishing. So these are two the major attack areas that are very prominent from some time now, and a lot of work has been done in mitigating the risks coming from identity theft and phishing. Now we'll be dwelling on these two topics. So I would like to start with introducing cybersecurity, since I have the idea that we are having second year and third year students among us. So cybersecurity itself is a very broad domain which majorly converses or deals with securing of digital assets and your liabilities. Now it can be anything. It can be your identity for one thing. It can be your documents. It can be your data transmission, whether it's in transit or your data is has been stored somewhere. So cyber security is securing your digital assets and your liabilities majorly. But when we talk about cybersecurity itself, there are various domains. Some of them have been listed here. Now, you may find different websites listing some more domains. There could be some less because it depends on their categorization. Whatever you seem fit to learn from, it's up to you. But yes, we have these kind of domains that are listed on your screen now. I'm so sorry. So first we start with security management. Security management is the biggest of all, because this one thing can comprise of all the other domains also, and this can work as a separate domain in itself. And now every organization has a security management team also. Now that particular team majorly looks out for the risks. They tend to manage the risks. Sometimes they have to remove the risk, and sometimes it is like they have to deal with the risk. Okay, so dealing with the risk can be depending upon what the procedure and the process the organization has. Change management, training. Awareness training majorly is now a healthy part of every organization's recruitment of a new guy. So whether you are hiring a developer, you are hiring a guard, you are hiring a desk manager, whatever, everybody has to go through an awareness training. Awareness training is important because security is not only a job of one person or one team. So it is a collaborative effort, so everybody has to know or has to be aware of the risk they can inculcate or the risk that can come through them. Okay, so this is one domain that you can be a part of if you are looking to get a career in cybersecurity. Now, the other very interesting domain to which we are going to learn something is identity and access management. Now, when we talk about identity we'll learn in the coming slides. So there is some identity established when you join an organization or a group, or for that matter, even at your personal level also. So you have to manage your identity equally. So you are now a student of a deemed university, so you have an identity in your university as well. So you have to protect that. You cannot let your iCard fall into anybody else's hand so that they can take advantage of it, right? So these are the kind of approach every organization follows also. Now, with the identity, you always get some access as well. Now, considering that you have your own identity in the university is not going to make every student the admin of its student management system, right? Or university management system. So every student, every faculty member has its own level of access. That is also managed. Now that is managed by with the help of some processes or with some help of tools. For that, you have to learn those tools. You have to get those skills, to assign the access and to manage that these accesses cannot be changed by anybody or any attacker. So you learn in depth when you get into these kind of domains. Right. So moving ahead, we have security engineering. Now, this particular domain, let me be very clear with you. It has its own subdomains, right? Because it deals mostly with network security. There is firewall, there is IPS, there is IDS. Some organizations think that vulnerability scanning is also part of security engineering, but it depends from organization to organization. So mainly it is securing the perimeter and the network of the organization itself. So this is the broader way I can make you understand all these things. So you deal with firewalls, you deal with systems who are monitoring the traffic which is coming in or out of the organization. It can be same way the traffic comes into the network of your university, right? So security engineering can also be a very good domain if you are looking for job in cyber security, making a career out of it. Then we have business continuity. Business continuity is one domain which has the sole purpose to keep the business running. Now, there have been debates whether this particular domain is a part of cybersecurity or not, but has been considered under the umbrella of cybersecurity nevertheless. This particular team makes sure that the organization, if by any chance is hit by any major calamity or a disaster, so you should be able to be up and running and secure at the same time when you get operational. Okay, so sometimes, like in some part of our country, we may be having some floods, sometimes it is earthquakes. So we may be hit by any natural calamity. In those times of crisis, this particular team comes as a major force to get the business up and running and be secure at the same time. So this is the part of their job. And this one can be interesting if you are into conducting drills, mock drills, where you have to tell your fellow colleagues that if any calamity happens, god forbid, if any calamity happens, then what you have to do and how the business is going to be up and running. So there are things, there are certifications, there are various tools, various models, various frameworks that you can learn, and you can get yourself into business continuity. It is one of the emerging cybersecurity domains as well, though all of them can be said that are emerging. But if you have your interest into it, that you want to work where you can bring the business up and running after a major disaster has happened, so you can get into this one. So compliance is the next one on our list. Compliance is majorly to check whether your business, your organization is compliant to certain frameworks that have been put forward by some authorities or the bodies worldwide. So one of the compliant framework, you can say, is ISO 27001. It takes care of your IT security or information security for that matter. This particular ISO 27001 framework has certain guidelines that can help you eradicate all the risks and put down some good processes that you can manage, and it helps the business to get more work. So if you are looking to secure your company's data, so what you do is you reach out to a third party. And what are the things that you are looking for in that third party is that they are certified ISO 27001. Why? Because if they are certified, They will be having the processes, they will be having procedures, they will be having all the other things taken care of, they will be secure, they would be mature enough to secure your data, whether it is being stored or it is being in transit. Okay, so being compliant is really good. It is a continuous activity internally also and externally also. So companies they perform two types of audits when we talk about compliance. So you can be an internal asset, or you can be a freelancer doing external audits. So if you have that kind of a knack where you dive into documentation, a lot of documentation, so that is one of the reason that I didn't continue with compliance part, though I am a auditor myself. But yeah, so if you have that knack of getting into the documentation part, reading it like a bug, you know, sorry, eating it like a bug, so then you can dive into this particular domain. And this domain is not going to stop anyhow, whether the COVID hits again, God forbid it should not, or there is some other change in the dynamics of the workload. Compliance is always going to be there, because every organization needs to be compliant to some kind of framework that is there as per their domain. Okay, next we come to cryptography. Cryptography is majorly with encryption and data storage and data management and everything, but it is slightly different from databases. Cryptography majorly deals with your confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. Okay, so it can be data has to be encrypted even if it is sitting duck, or you have to encrypt your data while it is in transit. So the best way I can explain you guys, because you are technical enough to understand TLS 1.2, 1.3 versions. So whenever you are communicating over HTTP, so TLS 1.2, 1.3 comes into the play, because it is encrypted channel. So all the things you are transmitting, all the chat you are having, that is going to be encrypted. There will be no eavesdropping. There is no possibility of MITM attack unless there is some downgraded protocol also working side by side. You are secured with it. Okay, so cryptography mainly deals with the encryption part, though hashing can also be considered a part of cryptography, and there are still being a work being done in algorithms, designing new algorithms for encryption, for hashing, and everything else. And if you have that thing in you, that you can create some algorithm which can remove the problems that we are facing right now for encryption, or you can contribute doing research in suggesting some new way of data transit and encrypting it, or 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 some other way that you can protect your data and privacy with encryption or hashing or whatever, then you should really join this domain, because this domain will bring you a kind of work that is totally different from all the other things that you have imagined so far. Cryptography is definitely is not going to be easy as it sounds. It is not easy, I'll tell you this. But if you have good coding skills, good algorithmic skills, this could be a domain for you. Okay, now physical security is considered part of cybersecurity as per ISO 27001. So we will not delve into it, but you have to secure your office space, you have to secure your business space. For that you need to have cameras, you need to have guards, and you need to have alarm systems and whatnot. So all the things are catered here, and we do have definite teams here. Sometimes the members of the teams are called as admins, and they are your ERTs, emergency reporting teams also. So physical security is also necessary, but it is totally upon you whether you would be uh, willing to be a part of this particular domain or not. But yeah, it is it this particular domain will be there, whether some of the domains will come and go, but this domain will always be there. Okay, so moving ahead, we have software development security. So in this present era that we are a part of, every organization has its own software development teams. Now they have their web applications, their mobile applications, and it could be some other applications also. Uh, those applications need security. So this is what I have been dealing with from last 7 years. I majorly deal into software development security and application security in total. So those applications need to be secure before they reach the face of a user or a customer, right? So this particular domain deals with that problem. So there are various things that we perform before launching a particular web application or a mobile application, and we make sure there are no bugs that any attacker can leverage to gain the access to our networks or our servers, or can deface a website in any way. So this is one prominent domain. Uh, I guess all the software developers who are watching this particular uh, session, they can be a part of this domain. I'm sure your coding skills would definitely come in use here, because you already have that requirement to understand a flow of a website all in together. And if you know the coding language that it has been written in, so that gives you an extra edge to secure this particular thing. So who knows, fingers crossed. So last one is the security operations. So security operations is one thing that every organization has. So whether they are directly dealing into IT or not, sometimes some organizations who are particularly not into IT stuff, they outsource this service. So security operations is the one room, you can say, is the one room where all the traffic that is coming in to your organization, your university, or leaving your organization is monitored. All the threats that are made on your organization's application, web applications, mobile applications, any unauthorized access, uh, kind of a thing, that all goes through this particular operation center. The sole purpose of this domain is to check or to hunt for the threats, to 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 respond to the threats, and to mitigate those threats, right? So major, I would just give you a hint of what this actually is. So there are systems deployed and all the traffic is running from them. There are checks, there are alerts, there are certain logic written behind. And when all those threats, they meet these criteria, these alert levels, so data is stored from all the traffic that is coming in or going out. Data is stored. Your job as a security operation guy is to write the queries to get the data out, and the data uh, specifically for you would be to get the threats out. Because when you get to study the threat, you can assess the risk, and then you can create an incident and report it to the security management team that will take care of risk management. Now, sometimes it happens there are phishing attempts, sometimes it happens there are hacking attempts on your web application. So all those kind of threats would be recorded. You have to be so good at writing queries. Now, these queries can be SQL, can be no SQL, or can be dependent on the tool that has been deployed. So it can vary. So you don't have to be like, oh, I do not know this tool. Don't worry. You can get certified for that particular tool, and then it will be easy for you to write the queries and dabble with it. So you can use some free tools also. There are some commercial ones which the organizations use. So you need not to worry about the tool itself. Okay, so I hope these domains are clear to you. Now you can go back after this session, think about it, that what is the the best domain that you have the interest to or aspire to join in, and accordingly you can make your preparations, right? In some Other sites, if you go and look out, you'll definitely get some more listing, some less listing. But these are some of the things that I have listed here. These are there. Okay, the categorization of different site, it should not change your mind. It should not change your attitude towards getting into cybersecurity. Yes, these are some of them which are there. Now their categorization may change. So yeah, so let us move ahead. Yeah, this is the topic that we are here to discuss about. Now let's establish identity. Okay, so identity always have been it's a kind of a class. I hope you all understand the class in coding respect. So a class has some features which are its objects. So it is kind of a same thing. So there are some unique features that establish a person's identity. Okay, so some of the features are here: identity by birth, identity through documents, through biometric data, on social platform or digital world. So let us learn something about these features. So by birth, when you are born in a royal family, obviously to a king, so you already have your identity established, that you're going to be a prince and your name would be XYZ. So that is one identity established as soon as you are born, right? So moving ahead is to establish the identity through documents. Now this is one which generally the government does it. So as soon as you are born in an hospital, you have to get your birth certificate. Not you, I mean your parents would get it. So by birth certificate, you will get your other documents, later in the stages of your life. So like your driving license, your Aadhaar, your PAN, your passport, and everything. So this one identity is always established by government. Okay. So then comes the biometric data. So your identity by birth is there, then by government is there. Now, when you join an organization, obviously they are going to have some different set of features that are going to identify you. Some organizations, they only rely on the documents that you have submitted. Some takes a step forward. They want your fingerprint. Even it can be for your attendance or what purpose. But yeah, your biometric data can also establish your identity. So the best example that I have written here, that not everybody can have the access to nuclear launch codes. So obviously it would be the prime minister or the president, depending on the country to country, right? Okay, so moving ahead, we have social platforms. So your documentation identity, uh, that does not matter when you come to the digital world or the social platform. So either you can be anonymous or you can be yourself. That is totally upon you. But this is also one of a kind of identity that we can establish right now, because there are some hacker groups, have been some hackers, some attackers who do not have their true identity on the internet, and the footprint that they leave behind is their digital identity. Okay, so this is also kind of identity, only it is hard to prove the person behind that identity. Generally we have seen it with teenagers who actually do not want them to be found, or some people with malicious intent. Malicious is always the bad intent, and they are there to do more damage than to repair it. So yeah, so like attackers or hackers for that matter. Okay, any questions you have, you can type those in your chat boxes, and later after the section we can take them up. So feel free to ask any questions regarding this topic. Okay, so let us move ahead. Identity theft. So when you have your identity established, there are always chances that these identities of yours or mine or anybody else's can be stolen. And identity is one thing which is as critical as information. Uh, I hope you all have heard this thing that the country which has the power to control information controls the world, right? Same goes with identity as well. I mean, like 80% of it. Now, to understand identity theft, you just listen to me for a couple of seconds here. Have you ever received any kind of a message in your DMs that, I know you logged into this xyz.com and I know what you did there? So it's kind of a creepy message. It is there to freak you out. That person might be sending you some URLs to click on so that you can pay that person or not. What that person actually is trying to you is trying to bait you into revealing your identity so that he can lay out an elaborate plan to defame you. And sometimes what happens is you might have got the message from a long lost friend from your school time, or somebody from your neighborhood who has moved from like 10 years uh, 10 years ago from your neighborhood, and he's coming back, oh, hey, hi, uh, I am this guy who was living two doors uh, two doors to your right or left or whatever the area is. And so I was just looking through, saw your profile, wanted to be friend on Facebook or whatever platform you use. So this is how they bait you, just to get your identity. So whether it is to steal from you or to get your identity and steal from others, it can be anything. So that is what I have tried to write here. When an abuser uses victim's personal data, either to steal from the victim or steal from others by impersonating the victim. So it can be both ways. It is not like your identity is getting stolen. It can be the person can steal your identity to attack somebody else. So the main impact of identity theft is to drain the victim financially, mentally, emotionally, then bully them. You know, sometimes it could be targeted attack. Sometimes it could be just a random attack to get money out of you. And if they are not successful to get the money out of you, then they will definitely pose as as a person who is going to do something wrong, and police is going to come and get you rather than getting that particular attacker or abuser, right? So how would you think these things happen? So public Wi-Fi is something which is not common in India. Metro cities maybe, but still it is not common. But then again, public Wi-Fi's, when you are at the airports or nowadays in trains or some coffee shops, you get the access to free Wi-Fi. Always think like an attacker that if this is a public Wi-Fi, somebody might be listening to all the traffic which is being routed through that particular Wi-Fi router. Somebody, and I am taking a number one, but it can be more than one. But technically, it will always be one. Why? Because when you tend to route the data of the router from your PC, obviously your IP has to be there as the gateway to the router itself. And there can be only one IP address at one particular instance. Okay. So at least one person is listening, others might be trying. That is another thing. So yeah, public Wi-Fi, you should refrain yourself from using public Wi-Fi's or free Wi-Fi's. Never use them, because obviously you are losing a lot of traffic there, and somebody might be listening to it. Listening in the sense, he would be gathering data on you, data to whom you are chatting with. Maybe you have done some transaction, so he can get the ID, he can get the bank details, the card details sometimes. So yeah, refrain from using public Wi-Fi's. Data breaches. So data breaches happen Now it's a continuous thing. So you every month you get to know one or two data breaches happening. The good thing is there are services which tell if your username, your credit card, your email address was in some kind of a data breach. And I can give you the one specific service which is given by Firefox free of cost. You can use that. Your username, your email ID, if that it has been revealed in some kind of data breach, Firefox can notify you. What you can do then is either you can get rid of those particular emails, or you can change the you can change the passwords, right? As soon as you get to know that, yeah, my email address was in this data breach, you go and change your password, because it is not like your email ID has been breached, your password has already been breached. So you go and change it. So if there is any data breach, you should go and look to the services whether your usernames or accounts have been breached as well or not. So yeah, then comes the social engineering part, or precisely the phishing part. So phishing we will discuss soon. So we'll skip phishing for now. Skimming, you all know, I hope. Skimming is when you go to an ATM shop, ATM, uh, and there you put your card in, you swipe your card in, but that actually is not the machine itself. Somebody has placed a replica of that particular skimming part. And as soon as you take your card out, your card has been copied through that skimming machine. So you need to be vigilant to use the ATMs which you think are in very good posh areas and not in some slimy slug. Okay. So and you have to be very watchful that the ATM you are using is not in a place which has been left alone. Sometimes it can be a crowded area, right? Sometimes it was observed that many of the cards were skimmed uh, on a ATM machine which was placed in a metro station. So then they removed the ATM machine from there because they were not able to get the hold of the person who was putting the skimming machine on that particular slot of the ATM. Sometimes it may happens the ATM is in such a weird place. It's ATM alone, nothing else. It is refilled with the money and everything. Only thing is the skimming machine is there, and people they are like too confident. You know, they believe that nothing wrong would happen, and they just swipe their card there, but it gets skimmed. So be vigilant to ATM that you are going to use. Okay, no matter how much you are needing of cash, just think through first, and then you use the ATM. Then there are phone scams. So I have detailed some of the phone scams on my blog also, and these are emerging with the trend. Earlier, you would get a call and they would bait you like, oh, your card is going to get expired, or there are points in your card that are going to expire, so you give us your card details and we'll manage it. Now the person who is unaware of these things, he will definitely he will definitely be getting conned by these scammers. Now, the trend has changed. How? Earlier it was wishing over the call. Now it is Google Wallet, your Phone Pay, and your Amazon Pay, your Amazon Pay. So what they do is they tend to trick you into um, something like we offer you this service. Uh, so you just have to click on Google Pay. I'm sending you the link. What eventually happens is he is trying to bait you into paying that person some amount, which eventually would not be enough to alarm the bank, but definitely would be draining your account. And then on the call himself, he or she is going to ask you. Then you have to enter the pin so that we get your all details and everything. Now, generally, it has hit to the non-metro areas, because metro area people are getting used to these things, and they are very vigilant about all these calls and these phone scams. So what I did is I got some screenshots and I put them together and wrote a big article over it and published it on my blog, my Facebook page also. And people did thank me after reading it, because the trends, they tend to change of the attacks, and you have to be in sync with how the trends are emerging. Okay, so this is one activity you all should have, because if you do not know about the trends, you will not know about the attacks. And the attack vectors, they change drastically. Now I'll tell you, with the launch of iOS 16, the attack vectors on iOS operating system is going to change, and Android 12, that has changed a lot in security. So you need to understand the trends, right? Okay, moving forward, we have shoulder surfing. So shoulder surfing has been considered, but when people join the organization, they are told to refrain from it. But still, it is prominent. It still happens, and you have to be very vigilant about it. Normally, what happens is Google Pay. What you do, you click the app icon. You go to the app demands the password or the finger touch. If you do not have the finger touch enabled, face unlock would be there, or password, whether it be alphanumeric or just numeric, something would be there. If you're not careful enough, somebody might be looking into it, and they will definitely get the password. Then for the transaction to happen, there is another pin that you put in. If you are still not careful enough, they will get that pin also. Now, sometimes what I have seen in the people itself, that those particular, the second pin that you put in for transaction is generally uh, their ATM pin or credit card pin. So beware, whether you are sitting on your desk, you're working at home, that nobody is looking over your shoulder trying to get the password that you are typing in, whether it be desktop, your phone, your office desktop, laptop, or whatever it is. You know, it is like just a small story that you are sitting on your desk working. The friend comes near you, he talks to you like, hey, what's up? How's happening? How's work? And you you lock the system just because you need to grab some drink. You go, you come back to your seat. The friend is still there, and now you have to log in. Okay, so the friend is watching over your shoulder. What do you type in? So you must always politely ask your friend that, kindly move aside. I have to log in, and I don't want you to shoulder surf for my password. This is how you should take care. Okay, if the friend is annoying, that is another thing, but this is how you should approach to this thing. So shoulder surfing can happen to anybody. It is not only related to office, it can happen to anybody. Railway stations, or people who are like peeping tom, who are always having their eyes glued to somebody else's screen. It can happen to anybody. So just be vigilant, be alert. Great. So other ways of identity theft can be malware. So once installed on a system, on a phone, whatever the critical data is there within the apps, your phone storage, your hard disk, they can copy it, send it back to the attacker, and then attacker will have all the identity he has to establish as you. Okay, so he can either challenge you, or he can reach out and be you to somebody else. So last thing is document forgery or theft. uh, it was not related to the tech world, but before the internet times, somebody else's degrees, somebody else's documents, they were pretty important to be someone, when they were not able to establish that the person holding the degree would be the right person. uh, if I can put it in a simple way, कुछ लोगों की डिग्रीज चोरी हुई, and somebody else got the job on the degrees that belong to somebody else. This is the basic example I can give, but it can happen in digital world as well. Okay, so it could be like you have a recipe uh, stored on some site within some wallet, but it was not protected so effectively that somebody hacked you, got the recipe. They changed the recipe, but kept the original one for themselves. So this was a kind of a document forgery that he didn't. He just left it there so that you are not alarming, but he copied it. So there was this forgery also, and the theft also happened. Okay, so this is the best example I can give, but there can be n number of instances. Uh, any doubts you have, you can put them into the chat box. I will clear each and every one of them. Okay, so let's move ahead. Oh yeah, now we have the phishing. Phishing is a very prominent attack vector when we talk about prominent. Why? Because this has been one longing for years now. Lot many things have been done to eradicate this one, but it still persists. And till the time we are on the internet, it will still be there. So all in all, this particular thing happens. The weakest link in a phishing attack, I can tell you this, is the human part. Majorly phishing happens through email. So email has to be opened by some person. That can be you, your friends, your colleagues, and they are the weakest link. If properly trained, properly guided, obviously the weakest link can be removed. But if you are unaware of the things relating to phishing, you can fall prey to it. So we are going to learn how it happens and how we can, keep ourselves vigilant just enough to grab that it could be a phishing attempt. Okay, so let's move forward with this one. So yeah, it is called phishing. So you can spell it PH or F, depends on you. Is the act of setting the bait. So yeah, phishing. What happens in the fishing is you have your fishing rod, you have your fishing hook in the water, and you are just waiting for the fish to bait it. So yeah, now if you are going for a bigger fish, that is called whaling, because you are looking to bait a whale, right? So that particular whale could be a CEO of an organization, or the vice president of an organization. So you are looking to grab hold of that person who is something in their organization. So that is called whaling. Generally, phishing is randomly to bait somebody. Randomly, you just created your phishing server and everything, and you sent an email to thousands of people. You are just waiting for any random guy to click on the bait. Okay, so what you do is you cast it out into a wide ocean. Now it's just like fishing, so hoping that something bites that you can then hook. If you are looking for a target, then it's whaling, because obviously he's not going to be a random guy like me, or any of your professors. You will be looking at somebody who actually has some value, right? So yeah. Okay. So why do you think this phishing happens, or how it happens? So it can be intentionally or unintentionally. Intentionally deceiving someone by posing as a legitimate company or a person. So normally they try to deceive you with being a company. So if you have a PayPal account, now they would definitely want your PayPal details. So that particular attacker is going to pose as PayPal support company, that your account is having such and such problem, so you have to log in. This is the link. Click here, put your credentials. So normally people do follow this, and credentials, they go to attackers. And what happens is after 5-10 minutes, the account is taken over. If there are funds, they are drained out, and the attackers are done. So you have been phished. So typically utilizes email by pretending to be a company or service requesting you to do something. So this is what this particular line meant actually. They are going to write you an email which you would be like convinced to open and read and follow the steps, hoping that you click the link and fill out the requested info. So requested info is majorly your credentials, probably where multi-factor authentication has not been implemented. Okay. If there is any question, you can still write them down. So moving ahead. Okay, so I'll just play this little clip. I hope you get the quite an overview of the phishing in an animated video. Sorry. Yeah. So let us watch it for 2 minutes, I guess. Right. So I hope you all enjoyed this short video. This video was majorly to tell you how this phishing actually happens in the real world, and majorly it is not restricted only to cloning the login pages of a site. It can be through emails. It can be, to bait people to put their credentials in a clone page, as you saw in the video itself. So there can be n number of possibilities a phishing can be done, but these two are the major ones that have been followed. Okay, just to clone a website or a login page, and then through the email itself. So the stats of the phishing, this speaks for itself. 50% of all the inbound email is spam, and this 50%, 54% now has increased and is continuously increasing, because with the outbreak of COVID and all, people were sitting in their homes. They were majorly doing online work, and the phishing stats they were shot up. Okay, so 54% in nowadays is more like 72%. 1 in 20 email message has malicious content, which is true. If you follow your own inboxes, if you're using Google, so there will be some spam messages. Some your focus will not be spam, but sometimes you get spam in your focus and works as well. So it can be your promotion. You see your promotion tab in your inbox. There you'll find a lot of spams. What you should do is report those promotions as spam to Google itself, so it can filter out more of those kind of messages in future for other users as well. So this is how you build a community and help each other, right? So yeah, moving ahead, we'll see the stats again, because these stats will be pertaining to the people itself, because no matter how many people we train, we guide them regarding phishing attempt still happens. 30% of people, they open phishing messages because they are either too worked up, or they are too busy, or they do not have the time even to look whether this particular sender is legit or not, whether they know that particular sender. and they tend to open those messages. Okay, 12% of people, they open attachments as well. So either they do not have anything at their hands to do, or they are so curious that they want to know what has been attached to that particular email which has reached their inbox. They open the attachments. So curiosity is a good thing, but it should be limited, especially when it comes to the email coming from an unknown sender. Even if there is something which excites your curiosity, do not open the attachment. Okay. Now, sometimes what happens is with the identity theft, the attacker will pose like you know the person. The email is not going to be a subject; it will be a reply of a subject. Okay, so the attacker will tend to bait you into it so that you are not replying to the email of an unknown person, but you are replying to an email, or the reply came from a known source. So you have to be very vigilant nowadays, because the trends have emerged to a new level now. And I don't want to see any of you guys in this 30% or 12% of people, right? So yeah, this is the one good example that I had quoted earlier also. I didn't knew it was here, however. So let's see. Now just carefully look into this email. Then we'll talk about what is wrong with it. Okay. So yeah, dear customer, what's the problem and how you can help? Okay. So let us move forward then. First, say this one from, always the sender. So you are the receiver. So always check for the sender. Now, this is an email address which possibly will not be used by PayPal. PayPal will have its own email address ending with its own domain, paypal.com, right? So you have to check for these flags here. Problems. So these are some of the words the attacker may use to bait you into doing what the attacker wishes to. Okay. So yeah, as a security precaution to protect your account until we have more details from you, we have placed a limitation on your account. So, this is a way to get the person, the victim, worried so that he follows through. It's a it's a it's a tactic that they follow, not speaking, but with the email, with the words. Then there is this link. So it is not in the URL form. It's in a button form. You all can code, I guess. You all can create HTML buttons with URLs attached to them, right? And you will reach here. And this is a clone page, obviously, not a legit site. And what is the problem with this that you have to identify is, see this. Now, why would your legit site be verified some other third party? It will not be. I mean, you can have an antivirus service running at your server, but it will not come to your web page. Okay. The next one is mother's maiden name. Now, why would PayPal need that? There is no need for the PayPal for your mother's maiden name, or your dog's name, or whatever. Social security number. So if you are into Facebook or some other social media platform, obviously they do not need all these things. Why would Facebook ask you to give your Aadhaar number? Right? So social security happens in US, Aadhaar happens in India. So you have to check these flags also, that whether this particular web service is going to need all these details from me or not. Obviously, they are trying to bait you into giving these details. Maybe they have your email marked from some other account where these details are required, and they want to get it from you anyways. Okay. So yeah, the video also told you and some of the tips that you can avoid phishing, and you can only avoid phishing. It will never stop happening, because I have dabbled around. There is no way that you can avoid phishing. You can always blacklist some servers that are continuously sending these kind of emails, but then again, there are people to make sure the servers are up and running and doing the phishing all over again. So phishing cannot be completely stopped, but yes, it can be avoided, and only be avoided if you are alert. You are vigilant about where you are trying to click in. The email is coming from a legit source or not. The sender is known to you or not. Even if the sender is known to you, you should always make sure whether that particular email address is valid or not. The link that you're trying to open, you should always run it through an online service to check whether this particular link is malicious or not. Or you can use a very good internet antivirus. So I personally use Norton. You can use Kaspersky, McAfee, whatever you have. Those services also provide you with the little hint that this particular URL is going to be a malicious one. And on the browser side, they can help you to stop some advertisement attacks, some spywares. Okay, so you can use all these things. So the first point here is check who the email sender is. Always make sure that it is a well-known source. Then check the email for grammar and spelling mistakes, like the one we saw in the image that was coming from the PayPal, supposedly coming from the PayPal. Then mouse over the link to see where it goes. Very good thing, because if PayPal wants you to log in, then the domain should always be paypal.com. So if you mouse over and you get the tooltip that no, it is trying to redirect me to some other website or address which is not known to me, that could be malicious. So you should always avoid clicking it. Then do not click the link, manually type it in. Okay, now sometimes it could be a long URL, so you can use the help of online services to filter out whether it's malicious or not. If it is not, you can click it. Otherwise, do the manual effort. Okay, then the fifth point I mentioned right over here is about the attachments. If the sender is unknown to you, never open those attachments, because no good is going to come out of it. And try to suppress your curiosity always, because if you are using Windows, you click on an attachment which is some kind of a PDF, there will definitely be some kind of a payload attached to it. And as the moment you click on that particular PDF, your whole system would be hacked. Okay, so I will not delve into what happens afterwards. That is altogether topic for some other time, maybe. So this is how it happens, and you should always try to avoid these things. So I guess this ends my session over here, and we can start with any questions you guys have. I will be delighted to answer them.
Yeah, students, if you have any doubts or any questions for clarification, you can write in the chat box so that speaker will reply and clear your doubt.
Yeah, I guess the session was so terrible that none of them did enjoy it. So no questions, I guess.
No, no, it was very nice, and I don't know. So, I, I have been listening from the beginning. And it was nice.
Thank you. So I guess
So,
there is no question.
uh,
Yeah,
Mr. Sandeep, I think no questions. So
I guess so.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a nice and eye-opening topic that you have given and share your expertise on cyber security.
Well, the
That I,
pleasure was all mine. You invited me here to listen to me also. Yeah, so that was a big thing. And see, my idea was to guide the people who have joined here to understand which domain they can get into, and based on their interest. So always have your interest first. Do not go blindly into any domain. And the other thing is that identity theft is not only a problem for the organizations; it is a problem for personals like us, the layman who has nothing to do with privacy at all, but it affects everybody, and we should inculcate this practice on a personal level itself. Then only we can secure our organization, our nation, our neighborhood, our community. So I guess I have achieved that if any one of them follows through.
yeah,
Thank
correctly
you
said.
for being here. Yeah.